Hello and welcome to Simply Sport with me, Neeraj Prabhu. In the course of the next half an hour, we will discuss today various things about football, Goan football particularly, how Goan footballers are developing, what is going wrong, and what are the things we are doing right. We'll also assess the performances of the various authorities like the GFA, GFTC, and other governmental authorities which are helping promote the sport of football. We have with us a very eminent panel of former GFA secretaries. We have first Mr. Savio Messas, who was the secretary of GFA from 2000 to 2010 for 2 terms. Then we have a very senior personality here with us, Antonio Botelho, who was also a former GFA secretary, and he has seen the development of football in the 70s, 80s and 90s when he has worked with GFA as a secretary for many terms. Welcome both of you to our studio. Let us start with your thoughts on how the footballing season of 2014-15 has been. What sort of performance do you think has Goan footballers put in?
Well, it's been a season of ups and downs. Ups, let's talk about the positive side. I think the ISL really brought in a lot of enthusiasm, interest. We created many records, like we had crowds queuing up at 4 o'clock in the morning to buy tickets, which is something we never saw in the history of Goan football. We saw some young stars coming up like Romeo, Mandar and a few other Goan boys, and we saw a lot of excitement and interest being generated. We saw a different kind of spectators coming to the ground. We saw families coming to the ground. We saw ladies, we saw young girls coming. We saw a different kind of crowd. On the other side, it's been quite a bad season for the Goan teams as far as the I-League is concerned, as far as the performance of the state team at the national level. It's been a big disappointment also to see very few Goans in the national team. At one time in the I-League we had 6-7 clubs. Now we are reduced to just 2 clubs. In the second division we have nobody. There were years when we had even 3 or 4 clubs fighting for a place in the second division. Overall the scenario has been bleak for Goan football.
The quality of the Goan players has declined. Do you agree with this observation?
Well, there have been a few stars, rising stars, but overall I would say there has been a decline in players' performance. We have had a number of players aging, and we have not been able to find substitutes for them. We have not been able to find a new breed of players to get into their shoes. I think we need to push some more stars and get some more Goan stars.
Right. Mr. Botelho, what do you think about the decline in quality, as Savio has said? Do you agree that Goan football is suffering?
Yes, of course. To a large extent, I think the attitudes of the clubs have changed. Instead of going down, looking down in the lower leagues for material for the new team, they go and buy ready-made players from Punjab, from Manipur, from the northeast. That is one of the reasons. But again, to complement that situation is the attitude of our Goan players. The Goan players are no more, they don't have the fire in the belly anymore, like I said. For them, they're doing the club a favor. The fight, the will to do well isn't there. Just as how much money can I get out of this? That is the attitude now, unlike what it was in the past, when genuinely the players used to put in their best to fight for the trophy or the win, even for the position in the league. Yeah. Unfortunately, this appears to me to be a chronic situation. I don't see any way out of this.
It's so serious.
It's quite serious according to me.
Right.
And like youngsters, for example, instead of playing, they are asking for match postponements. Clubs are asking for match postponements to allow them to work as for the tourist season, for the tourist industry. We all know what sort of work they're doing there in the industry.
There are players who may have this weak mindset. They are not as strong mentally, and as you say, may go for easy money and compromise on their football. Why has this decline come? What was the type of quintessential Goan player when you saw when you were a secretary in the 70s? What type of Goan footballer was there playing and attracting the type of people, the crowd that was coming for the games?
Crowd response is in proportion to the behavior of the players. The crowd feels that what's going on in the ground is no longer the ultimate that the players can give. So why waste my time going to see them? This is my personal opinion, but this is what I feel is happening. I mean, why would they come for the ISL and not come for the I-League?
This result that we see today is because of failure of youth development policies. And if it is so, how are the players of the past, the eras gone by, so creative, so skillful? What sort of youth development and facilities were there in the 60s and 70s?
Yeah, that's a good point. Well,
I
for
think
example-
I'll answer
Yeah,
this
okay.
question because in 1979, when I was secretary of the GFA, we first thought about having a youth development program. We call it talent promotion scheme, I think. And instead of starting at the bottom at the age of 10, 12, whatever, we started reverse. So we started with under 21. We had 4 zones, I think: Salset, Murmugao, Bardez, and Niljas. We had selection trials for that. We knew the dates of birth of the players, so no one could cheat us really. And from that, we selected for the 1980 the under 19 team, which was the first team from Goa to win a national. They beat everybody in Kerala, including Kerala, in the finals at home. I just met Anthony the other day, Anthony who scored the first goal. I had been for that match, and it was a great thrill seeing Goa, genuine youngsters defeating. I'm not saying that Kerala was overage, but probably was not, because Kerala normally has quite a tough system. But they won on merit, yeah? And quite a few of them have gone on to become good coaches. Derek, Maurice, Baptiste, yeah, Lecter also. It was a fantastic team.
Derek.
Yeah. Now, thereafter, for whatever reasons, this is one of the problems we have in not only in Goa, in India. Whether it's a political party or a faction in football, some new team comes in, wants to change whatever was being done long term, starts the new program, and so on. So that thing was discontinued after 1981, and probably the idea was at that time to come down every year by 2 years. So it was 21, 19, 17, 15, 13, so on. It got stopped at the age of 19 itself. Having said that, I think youth development programs being conceived now, we've had a lot of starts and failures. When Sabi was there, he started an academy. Maybe you can explain why it failed. Because of the age groups, I think. Yeah,
we took in kids who were in the 9th standard. The next year they all went to SSC and they all wanted to quit the academy.
Then
for
we had sponsored schools. We picked 6 schools, I think.
Yeah.
We gave them coaches, equipment. Nothing happened. Because one day I remember, me and Savi, we went to look for the Pilar ground where a practice was scheduled to be, and we found the ground full of mud. And that mud had been there certainly for a couple of months. So where was the practice going on? We found the team practicing somewhere in Goa Valley. Now the GFA was never informed of the development. So basically we realized that monitoring these programs was the crux of the issue.
I think even in your term there was some program with cooperation from Australia, and then it couldn't be fully fully utilized.
No, we had we
ASOP.
launched it ASOP, the program in Australia, and then afterwards it was to be continued by the next incoming
New
committee,
term.
but then it got
Same story. Yeah.
Same story.
But I
Differently
would say okay, in his time they didn't have that much of youth development program designed, but then as years went by,
you learn.
you had to bring the kids back to the ground. So we had to devise methods. So we had to come up with a youth development policy where we could bring kids to the ground because kids were getting distracted by other things.
Absolutely.
But I would say that if we succeeded to a great extent, it was because we had these Portuguese experts with us who monitored the situation. We were monitoring the programs, the development, on a very scientific and a proper manner. If some of our programs failed, it was basically because of lack of proper monitoring. And lack of there was no responsibility on the part of the people who headed those programs, the coaches. One has to be sincere. There's no sincerity.
So one thing that I think both you will agree is that there was much more fire in the belly in the footballers of the eras gone by than it is today. And that's, I think, one of the main reasons that we see that the quality of Goan footballers has gone down. And right now it is very much pertinent that we see that in Indian football team there are hardly anybody having starting places, hardly any Goan in the starting lineup for last 2-3 games that we have seen. And there is a lot of emergence or big time emergence of the players from Northeast. What have they done much more to come to this stage and kick Goa down in the pecking order?
Personally, I believe 2 reasons. One, they have the fire in the belly, which we have lost. 2, they are small states. They are almost starting from scratch. They are able to structure their associations and programs better. I may be wrong, but Savio has gone there more often, so he should know about this, whether it's true or false. I haven't been to the Northeast lately.
Well, they have been successful in some states, but as you rightly said, there's a lot of enthusiasm in them and they really want to do well in sports, which we are lacking. But now also, is it because of lack of incentives that our boys are lacking? See, before we had a lot of incentives. We used to send boys to the UK, send boys to Portugal, send boys to competitions, teams abroad. So that, creates a lot of interest in the kids and it gets them to train. We need to keep kids training around the year.
Right.
And that's the only way you can succeed. You just can't plan work for a month and expect to get into the Indian team.
Absolutely. The spotlight on the state governing body for football, that is the Goa Football Association. What do they need to do to bring Goan football back on track?
With the evolution of time, what the Goa Football Association was in 1974 when I was secretary and what it is now are entirely different things. That was an amateur organization. You worked for the love of the game. No longer. Now you need to be paid for the work you are expected to do. It's become a commercial proposition. It's no longer a hobby or a pastime. The organization of the Football Association. So things have changed. And unfortunately, the mindset in Goa has still not changed. We need MBAs. We don't need ex-footballers running the association. We need professionals who have been trained how to run organizations. Even I am not qualified for that. I would say possibly Savio may also not be qualified. Neither are the people who presently are in the GFA qualified. You need proper, and you need to pay them. You are not going to get this work for free. So this money has to come from somewhere.